Hi everyone. This video is going to cover some information on how to choose a university. We'll get right to it here. You'll hear me say this a lot, but this is very much an individual decision, and I think that it's important that you converse with your parents, with your counselor, and get as much information as you can from online resources and the counseling office. Some great books up here in our offices we'll see a little bit later. But you really have to make sure that you are making the decision for yourself. Because ultimately it's going to be you who goes to university. Also, I want to make a real small disclaimer here about rankings. It's very easy to get caught up into the ranking game and sort of say, well, number 23 is better than number 24. Well, honestly, rankings can be useful, but when you look at it in that sort of minute detail, it's really not important. Additionally, I think it's important that you look at the methodology as how they make their decisions, as well as understanding that a lot of international rankings are not very useful. I've seen international rankings where the university names are misspelled, which is kind of pathetic. But if you were looking at Canada, look at Canadian rankings. If you're looking at Australia, look at Australian rankings. Those can be quite useful. Here's the list of things that we're going to be looking through. These are the search criteria. It's going to be the backbone of your research. You're looking at academics and course, of course, as well as things like location, environment, size, cost, activities, and post-university plans. Starting off with academics and course, you're going to be choosing a number of universities to apply to. And what we typically recommend is that you look for universities that are a little bit above your academic ability, a few schools that are right on your academic ability, and a few schools that are below your academic ability. And also you're going to be using a lot of quantitative data to determine where you fit into that hierarchy there. Your counselors are excellent people to talk to about this. Also, you need to be looking at things like entry requirements. What IB score do you need to get into this university? It's going to tell you very quickly whether or not you have a chance of getting into that school. Obviously, if you are dead set on a specific course, you want to make sure that your university has that course, and be comfortable with whether it's a strength or a weakness of that university. Make sure that you're happy with the program that you're going to be getting into. You also need to consider your own strengths and weaknesses. You've made already a big decision on which courses you're taking in the IB diploma, which will obviously lead to natural links in tertiary education. So you need to look at what your strengths are and kind of pursue your interests as well. There's usually a pretty strong correlation there. Additionally, we really encourage students to shop around and look at a lot of different universities. There's so many out there that there's a wide variety of options. You want to be looking at, you're going to be an undergraduate, and so you want to get as much attention as you can. So if you're really into a subject that requires a lot of research, make sure that that's a priority for that university, as well as thesis writing. If you're really into that could be an option. Are you somebody that does well on exams? Perhaps you're somebody who's much better at project-based assignments or assessments. Think again about your strengths. You will also be looking at, you can also look through the course catalogs and the program. There's all of this is all online, and you can find this information about whether or not it's a theoretical teaching, or if it's a theoretical curriculum, or if it's more of a hands-on. Again, you have a lot of options there, double majors, honors degrees. There's lots of options there, so do your research there. Additionally, you may be interested in studying abroad. and that's always a possibility. Well, not always a possibility, but if that's something you're interested in, then do look for it. Okay, moving on. Location is pretty obvious. One of the big things that everybody thinks of immediately is weather. Are you a cold weather person? Or are you a hot weather person? If you've lived in Thailand your whole life and are thinking about moving to, northern Scotland, that's going to be a pretty huge adjustment. So keep that in mind. Uh, Additionally, are there things around you that are interesting to you? If you're if you're really isolated, um, and you feel cut off from the world, then you may not be happy. Maybe you want to be near the coast. Maybe you want to be near the mountains. Maybe you want to be near the city. It's always nice to be able to jump into a car and be in a completely different environment from your everyday life. Now, as far as environment, now this is a little bit different from location. Environment is sort of the feel of the campus and the people in it. So things to think about would be international students. Is it very diverse? Um, and by diversity, of course, we think about social and economic um, as well as ethnicity. Campuses can be urban, it can be suburban, it can be rural. There are campuses everywhere, absolutely everywhere. There's lots of universities right downtown London. There's universities out in the middle of the woods, miles from anywhere. So um, think about what you are interested in, and keep an open mind because there's some fantastic opportunities out there. Um, Also, think about the facilities that are available. If you're really into sports and you really want to play uh, something that requires, if you want to do ice hockey, well, you're going to need a place with ice hockey rink. If you're really into music, think about the facilities that you would be needing when you get there. Additionally, think about the political persuasion. You can find that out in some of the books and online resources that we have. Um, that's a tough one to put your finger on, but reviews will help you, and that's something you should definitely capitalize on. If you're a really conservative individual and you end up going to a very, 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 very liberal university, you may feel a little bit uncomfortable. So just check that out. Size is of course very important. You're going to end up you could end up at a university with 75,000 students, which is going to have a direct impact on the size of your classes. If you're somebody that functions a lot better in a 8-person round table discussion, going to an enormous mega university may not be you know, your slice of pie. You may want to look at a smaller option. Um, Now, I've read a lot of research about this, and a lot of people assume that um, smaller is better. That's not always the case. It can certainly be the case, but make sure that it's a good fit for you. Moving on to costs and financial aid, we're talking about two big um, costs. One is fees, and the other one is living. Um, uh, your fees are going to be affected by things like home status and possible in-state residency. Uh, your living cost really isn't going to be affected by that. Um, your living cost is going to be affected by location. If you're right downtown London, it's going to be expensive. If you're in a cheap area, then it's cheap. It's pretty simple. Um, but that can be affected by your own decisions. And if you live a lavish lifestyle as a student, which I've never heard of, then it's going to get costly. So if fees are a serious burden or a difficulty for your family, you could look into scholarships. Most scholarships are merit-based, which means that you have to kind of earn them one way or another, which could be a musical talent, an athletic talent, an academic talent. Um, so and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of scholarships out there. You just have to go out and search for them, and your counselors can help you point you in the right direction. Additionally, there's a thing called financial aid, which is possible in some countries. There's a lot of rules surrounding that, and when you start applying as an international student, the rules get really, really strict, and the availability gets smaller and smaller. So please talk to your counselor about that. We can help. Activities activities are going to affect your life outside the classroom. So anything that you really enjoy doing outside the classroom, this is the criteria that you want to be looking into. If you're really into rugby, make sure that the school has a rugby team that you could play on it. If you're really interested in the orchestra, check it out. See if they've got opportunity for you to play. Now, do keep in mind that competition is pretty fierce there, and so if you're a good basketball player here in Thailand, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a walk-on at Duke, because there are really good sports programs out there. So you have to do your research. Fraternities and sororities, I'm not going to get into very much. We do have alumni who are part of fraternities and sororities. They pretty much went not knowing what it was. I think you'll be okay not knowing what it is. If you're interested in learning about it, come talk to me if you want to. And there are online resources that you can learn more about it. There's a lot of hype about it, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, but it is what you make of it. Okay, now moving on, we want to look beyond the university. What can our university do for us that is going to help us in the future? Things like offering internships or sandwich courses, which will allow us to do work and study. These are really great options and can be fantastic on your CV when you're applying for a job. Additionally, there should be a career department at your university. It's going to help you and support you. So check into that. That's usually pretty standard. What's not always standard is a strong alumni network, and that's where a lot of your more local universities are really strong. You can find alumni who really favor students at that university, whether it's a really strong university or a weak university. Alumni connections are very, very powerful and useful. Additionally, if your university has links to a specific industry, that obviously can be very, very helpful. It can be a pretty easy segue into the professional world. So where do you find all this information? Best place to find a lot of information is to come up and talk to us in senior studies. There we've got tons of resources up here. We've got lots of books, as you can see here. These are all available up in our office area. Additionally, we have representatives from these universities who come and visit us. And bizarrely enough, some students don't come and see them. We've got educational fairs all the time in Bangkok, websites, obviously. We also use Lincoln Learn quite a bit. If you go to Lincoln Learn, Careers Key Stage 5, you'll find a lot of information there. There are alumni who will be happy to talk to you, and teachers who have been to a lot of these universities. Rankings, family friends, YouTube, Facebook, lots of stuff there. If you get a chance to visit some of these universities, this is by far the best way of getting a feel for the university. I highly recommend. So what now? Right now, what you need to do is start your research. You need to get to some of those resources I've mentioned. I want you to start a Google Doc and share that with your counselor. It'll help you stay organized and allow you to share your information. You're going to have a Year 12 interview very soon. Get ready for that. Talk to your tutor, talk to your parents, talk to your friends, but think about what university fits you. This is an opportunity to think about what you want in your future. And really, the challenge is to find a university that fits you. It's not that there's one university that's perfect. There's really a number of universities that are perfect for you. And going back to my original point, this is a very individualized decision, and we encourage you to get as much information as possible. But please keep in mind that you're the one who's going to university and we want you to be happy.